Welcome to another episode of the Booktroverts podcast with your favorite gals. I'm McKayla.
I'm Meg.
And today we are jumping into spooky season with two thriller books. We read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak and Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Caine. So we are going to be deep diving both of those books, which means that the episode will contain spoilers. So if you haven't read them yet, you might want to pause and come back. As a rundown for each book, we are going to be giving you the book description, our overall rating, and then breaking down the twists and shocking moments, thoughts on the plot and different characters, and whether or not we think it lives up to spooky season hype.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start off with Hidden Pictures. I'll give the description first, and then we can kind of get into it. So Mallory Quinn is the main character in this book, is fresh out of rehab when she takes a job as a babysitter for Ted and Caroline Maxwell. She's to look after their 5-year-old son, Teddy. She immediately loves it. She has her own living space, goes out for nightly runs, and has the stability she craves. And she sincerely bonds with Teddy, a sweet, shy boy who is never without a sketchbook and pencil. His drawings are the usual fare, trees, rabbits, balloon, all that jazz. But one day he draws something completely different, a man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body. Then Teddy's artwork becomes increasingly sinister, and his stick figures quickly resolve into a lifelike sketches well beyond the ability of any 5-year-old, at least any 5-year-old that I know. Mallory begins to wonder if these are glimpses of a long unsolved murder, perhaps relayed by a supernatural force. Knowing just how crazy it sounds, Mallory nevertheless sets out to decipher the images and to save Teddy before it is too late. So, McKayla, I have to ask, after that long description,
You did a great job.
thank you. What was your overall rating, and does it actually live up to the spooky season hype that we were hoping for?
Yeah, so I gave this one 3 stars, so middle of the range for me. I put, it wasn't a bad thriller at all. Didn't necessarily live up to the hype. I've been seeing it a lot on my For You page and people
Yeah.
speaking pretty highly about it. And while I don't necessarily agree with like the 4 and 5-star ratings, I definitely don't think it's a bad book by any means. I will say the addition of the drawings definitely added a spooky element that I think really elevated the book, because I loved it, especially because on the Kindle, at least the way I have my settings and font and all that, it was a dedicated page. So I didn't expect it when I turned it. And some of them were kind of scary.
Girl, I thought about you immediately. I'm not kidding. In my notes, I go, she is going to be thrilled that the pictures take up a whole page.
Yeah.
Because it just brings me back to when the moon hatched, we could not read anything. So it was just so entertaining. I think I highlighted one of the pictures as a thank you. I can see the whole picture. I know, and like you said, some of them were kind of creepy, and I had to watch happy videos afterwards because I knew I'd have nightmares.
Especially as they started to become more realistic, they were terrifying.
Yeah.
And I was really trying to study the pictures to see if I could pick up like any clues in the background that may have led to the thing. So I just feel like that was a really good choice for whoever made that, whether it was the author or the publishing team, because it's one thing to describe the pictures, but then to actually be able to see it and see the progression of how the art skills really drastically changed. It wasn't like naturally, like the kid clearly was getting better. It was like they were stick figures and then they were like Picasso level art. I liked that part a lot. Now on the scribe, did it still take up a whole page for you, or was there text underneath?
It still took up the whole page.
Oh, that's even more terrifying.
Nice. Yeah. I forget which one was a little bit disturbing, but specifically the one where you're in the hole and someone's covering you.
That one terrified me.
Good luck. I can't think about that. You know, I'm not ironically, not into thrillers or anything movie-wise. Books I can read it, I have no problem. But seeing the pictures was as if I was watching a black and white movie. It was terrifying.
That's a really good point too, because I can read the books and I don't have nightmares, but if I watch the movies, I have nightmares. And that's why some of them, especially towards the end, I was double clicking so I could see the page go by and be like, okay, is there a picture there or not? Because I had a feeling. And then I was like, okay, I'm prepared. I'm going to see a picture. I can go back now.
That's amazing.
Because it catches you off guard
It does, it
if
does.
you weren't
Because
expecting it.
I know, because then some she did multiple back to back. So it was Mallory flipping through multiple. I go,
Yes, that chapter was
what?
so scary to me.
It's like, oh, here's us holding hands as stick
But I
figures, and then
yeah,
boom.
but I didn't think the actual words were scary. It was
Mm,
just the pictures, so I really liked that element, and I've
yeah,
never read a book that included illustrations like
neither have I.
that consistently through a book, so I liked it.
I liked it a lot. It was definitely, I felt as if I was reading an illustrative book, you know what I mean, where it's more photos through each chapter and all of that. So it just really added to the
Mhm.
suspense and what's going to happen next vibes, because if not, I don't think I would have gotten as intrigued to hear what happened next.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then just to go back to your second question about like the spooky
Yeah.
season stuff, for me, like that's just like Halloween. Like, do I feel like you have to read it in September, October? And for me, I don't think you do. There was, and we'll get into it, but like, the supernatural element that was leaning towards spooky season, and then that kind of just fell flat. I mean,
Yeah.
there is like a Ouija board, but I feel like you could read this in February and you'd have the same experience. There's just some books that like you need to read around this time of year to really get the full effect. And this one, personally, I just think you could pick this one up whenever. But
100%.
I don't know. What did you think about it?
No,
Rating?
I'm with you 100%. So I gave it 3 stars as well. I basically put it's a reasonable thriller if you want a quick read and are not going to dissect it like we are, is basically how I said. Because, some that you just pick up and say, I need a quick read. I just need a couple days to get out of the slump or
Mhm.
whatever. This would be perfect for that, of just, here you go, here's something fast. But, and to your point too, I don't think it necessarily has to be read during this time of year at all. You could just pick this up whenever. I mean, granted, if you give me, Halloween night, you're by yourself in your house and people are knocking on your door randomly, yeah, I might be a little more terrified about
Mm-mm.
these random hidden pictures, but
Mm-mm.
um but I don't think it actually really makes it to, at least for my opinion, for a spooky
Mhm.
season book that I would pick up or suggest to someone to pick up.
Yeah. Actually, kind of works better for the author because now your book can be sold year round. There are some books that
Right.
are like the window is September, October. And if you miss it, you got to wait till the next year.
I know, right? You just say, oh, sorry, you gotta wait another year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it works better for him, but
Yeah.
glad we were on the same page on this one for the
Same.
rating.
Yeah. And then I wanted to know your thoughts, because obviously we talked a little bit about the supernatural aspect, but what about the rest of the plot and the characters, and kind of where were you with the whole thing? Because we had a little bit going on here and there.
Yeah. So I initially really loved the plot. I thought it was
Yeah.
super interesting, especially the opening where she's in that study and she's really the only one who's able to sense when someone is staring at her while she's blindfolded.
Yeah.
That was so interesting to me. I was eating up that first chapter. And then it just kind of went away. We did not revisit that doctor, the study until the very end.
Yeah.
I get what it was trying to do, is trying to set her up as this really perceptive character, and I get that. But I initially really loved it. She's coming out of rehab. She's taking this, nannying job. She's trying to rebuild her life. It's seemingly like this perfect family that's well off. And when she starts thinking, like, okay, there's definitely a ghost spirit that's taking over Teddy's body because now he's starting to draw really well.
Yeah.
He's having one sided conversations. I was like, okay, I am into this. This could be really cool. Then she's getting the crazy neighbor next door. They're doing the Ouija board to see. And it felt like they were going more like evil supernatural,
Yeah.
which I was really liking until it just completely fell flat for me. Because then all of a sudden, you find out in the ending that really Caroline stole this child from the park. The supernatural spirit, there is one, but it's this child's actual mother who was killed. And all she's trying to do is just like expose the family. I wish she was trying to get crazy revenge on them.
I agree.
That's what I wanted. Like, I wanted the kid to start going like psychotic. And because she was only taking over Teddy's body when he was with Mallory. Really, nothing was going on when the parents were home.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be happening when the parents were home to like start making them question and go psychotic. I thought that could have been like a cooler aspect where it just made this poor girl like they already don't trust her because she has this drug problem and
Yeah.
they're probably like, oh, she's just withdrawn, you know, she's using again, she's having these hallucinations, these crazy thoughts. That I didn't love.
Yeah. I'm actually with you because I wrote it down that the history with drugs was a key player, and the only reason why was they mentioned at the beginning that it messes with your brain. You can't rely on your memory, you can't rely
Mhm.
on what you might know, and all of that. And they didn't even play fully to that aspect either of, oh, it must be because you're just out of rehab and you're
Mhm.
seeing things and you can't. I think Caroline might have mentioned it once at
Yeah.
some point, but to your point, going back a little bit, I would have loved if Teddy started going very weird during just dinners or
Yeah.
and even if it was still with Mallory around only, but maybe when they did pool days and it was the four of them, make him go a little crazy. You know,
Mhm.
start, I don't know, just coming out and doing a weird voice, you know, a deeper voice or something that a kid shouldn't have, or a high pitch to kind of sound like his mother, his dead mother. You know what I mean? It's just they could have went so much more creepy with the
Yeah.
vibe.
And I feel like if it went like that more creepy route, then I would have said, okay, yeah, this is spooky season for
100%.
sure.
Yeah.
But it was just like she was just getting in him to basically take over his body to draw for 2 hours so that she
Yeah.
could get her story across, which is still a cool aspect. But yeah, I agree. Like, give something while the parents were around. Um, the other thing I pointed out was I didn't feel like the characters were super flushed out.
Mhm.
There wasn't a lot of layers to them, or it just felt like they were very surface level for a large majority of the book. And then at the ending, it was like, here's all this info dumping of like, here's these characters' backstories, things that I didn't feel like you had enough insight into where you would have um, picked up on. For example, the husband.
Yeah.
So when she interviews, he's super standoffish, kind of coming across like a dick, making her feel
Royally.
like she's not getting the job. She even leaves and it's like, I didn't get this. Like, very unwelcoming. And then while she gets the job, she's nannying, they really don't interact that often. The only thing that stands out in my mind is the night she went to go swim laps in the pool and he came out to swim too. But even then, like, he was like, we'll just go opposite ends, like we'll just pass each other in the pool. They weren't, you know, he wasn't trying to like swim next to her or anything, like they were on opposite sides. And then I think he puts his hand like on her shoulder, but not enough to set off any warning bells. And there's really not conversation happening. All of a sudden, we're towards the end of the book. She comes back to her cabin and he's just passed out in her bed.
It was such a jump for me.
It was such a jump. I was just like, what is going on? And he's drunk and he's like, oh, we got in a fight. So I came here. Why are you seeking her out? And then when we get the full story from the wife at the end, or the husband, you know, she finds out what's going on. The husband then tries to come save Mallory and he's like, we can run away. I know you want to be with me. And it turns out he's been in love with her and he had cameras in her cabin so he could get off to what she was doing because he would sit in his office and watch the cameras. To me, felt out of left field because it's fine. You know, creepy men like that
Yeah.
tracks, but he did not have any weird conversation with her.
No.
So it felt just super like, okay, I need to just give some shock factor here
It
to
was
wrap the book up.
I'm with you. And it was also that typical and I hate saying it, but you know that typical, oh, the nanny and the dad.
Yeah.
And it's this thing. And I it was just kind of thrown in there. Like you said, just a twist to have or just a shocking point at, but I just don't think it was needed. I think it could have been totally fine of instead of him saying, oh, I've been in love with you, blah, 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 and we're gonna run away together, it could have been, I'm saving you from Caroline because she has put me in this situation. I don't want her
Hmm.
to put you in this situation. And then, you know, peace out. And it didn't need to go that route. I thought it was disturbing though the fact that she always felt like she was being watched. Was that because of the cameras? Because
It must be. Yeah.
I mean, it maybe it could have potentially been the animals out in the woods, but the only other thing I could think of was is that the connection to the study at the beginning was the fact that he had cameras. Like
Yeah.
it just there was so much that Oh, yeah, there were ties here and there, but it didn't
They were
really
really
go
loose
together.
ties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't connected as much as I would like it to be.
Yeah, and even the comment, like, it circles back. Caroline's like, "Oh, didn't he tell you not to touch the wiring?" And she was like, "Yeah," and I forgot what phrase she used, like, "It's this weird type of wiring, don't touch." It was such a random line in the book, so I was like, "Okay, why is she gonna fix the electricity in her cabin?"
I
And it
don't
was,
know
like, because a
either.
light bulb was out. And I'm like, "You just have to screw in a new light bulb." Like, it has nothing to do
Yeah,
with the wiring. That's 'cause she just kept saying, "I need to replace the light bulb, I need to replace the light bulb." And
yeah.
then the wife's like, "Didn't you question why you couldn't do your own electrical work?" And it's because he had these I'm like, "What?"
It was so weird.
It was just a little bit of a stretch to think that readers would have remembered that one just random line in there.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on the characters, and I think I wrote it as well of within kind of twists and shockers with Caroline kind of taking Teddy away. And I think there might have been one sentence again that mentioned from Ted they had a tough time. The mother's always right with their parenting. You don't disagree with them, stuff like that. And I don't know if that was supposed to be the hint that, the foreshadowing that we could have, but it was not there for me. I didn't see it at all. It
Yeah.
was a little weird and shocking at the time of knowing, oh, she just took this kid away, but I don't know, there wasn't as much there as I expected it to be of, oh, I could have looked back at chapter 3 and it would have been a huge piece that makes sense why this was mentioned.
Yeah, I wrote the exact same thing down. I feel like there wasn't enough conversation before we get the full unraveling
Yeah.
of them having difficulty having a baby or her really having this strong desire to be a mother. And I think that would have been like, oh, okay, like we heard that they had a hard time
Yeah.
conceiving or whatever, or they wanted a second kid and they haven't been able to. That I think would be like, okay, that makes a little more sense why then she went and stole this child. She was driven because of years. But it's you got all that info at once when you're getting the unraveling anyways. You're getting the answers to the problem.
Yeah.
Uh, so I feel like that didn't also what she just didn't come across very motherly to me, where I
Mm-mm.
felt like she was this person driven by this maternal instinct and this maternal need to have a child, that she would stoop to that level to literally steal someone from the
Yeah.
park because she was away. Like I just felt like that character could have been worked differently. She was a mother who was at work, but she had a nanny, but like she's checking in all the time, or she's
Right.
really overly concerned. But she just had those rules for him, which were so weird, like no meat. What did all that have to do with? Um,
No idea.
but she seemed annoyed whenever, obviously, when the school called because she didn't have any of the paperwork for him. But I don't know, I didn't get a super maternal vibe from her.
No. And I think there was one point where they specifically said that I don't know if it was Caroline looked over at Teddy longingly or something, but Mallory had said, "Oh, she probably is this person who goes to work and wishes she could stay home with their kid." And I think that was the only point that we see of that, the typical mom guilt that you might have of, "Oh, I have to work a job, but I would love to be with my kids at all times," type thing. And I don't
Hmm.
know if that's the point we should have gotten, but besides that, it was just kind of a, yeah, we're these, I don't want to call them a rich family, but a more well-off family, and we both work and that's it. And we just need someone to be
Yeah,
with our kid during the summer. And
yeah.
I didn't
Even though
get any
like
specific vibes.
they weren't even really that well off
Mm-mm.
because he was just going to a WeWork. He wasn't running this huge company like they had
Yeah.
made Mallory assume was the case. Um, the other thing that I can't remember if it was addressed, so apologies if it was,
Mm.
but did they ever come out like why she was so adamant that Mallory get the job? Because they had interviewed a bunch of people they alluded to. And then she was like, no, I really felt like I wanted you. Was it just because Teddy had a good connection with her? Or is it she wanted a backup plan in case the nanny figures out what's going on? This person has a history of drug use. I can just say she's using again.
I don't know if they actually explained it either, but I'm gonna go. You probably hit the nail on the head with let's just do two. It's a two-parter. The fact that Teddy actually liked Mallory and pushed everyone else's side, but also the past history for Mallory is a perfect opportunity to say this person went crazy, they went back into the drug scene and all of this, and they could have used that as the excuse. So it wouldn't shock me if that's why she chose her,
Yeah.
especially because she works with was it the
She
veterans?
works with,
Or,
yeah, at the VA but
yeah,
she works with, like, recovering
right.
addicts.
Yeah. So it wouldn't shock me if she kept someone within her same realm that she could understand more. But
Yeah.
yeah, they
Even
didn't
though I
really.
don't think she's very good at her job because at the end, she was saying very mean things about addicts.
I know. It
And
must
I
have
was like,
just
"Don't
been
you
a
work with
whole.
these people? Like, you should be more empathetic."
I just question if she just did it to have something on the books to say she was working. Of,
Maybe.
here's our normal family and we live in this nicer area and, this perfect little town or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. Her whole vibe was weird the whole time.
Yeah. The other, last little point I had in for, like, plot and characters was
Yeah.
Teddy's family. At the end, Teddy, who ends up being a girl the
Yeah.
whole time, they have been pushing Teddy off as a boy. Teddy is a girl. So I don't really know how that was going to work out when Teddy hit puberty.
Right.
Were they just going to force Teddy to get like transitional surgery? I'm not really sure how that was going to work out for them.
No idea.
But like the cops coming over, Teddy's returned to his family. He has a full family because they own a farm.
Yeah.
His dad's there, but like, there's a lot of people that work on a farm to keep that running. Why did none of them come looking for him? And maybe they did, and it just was glazed over in the book. But
Yeah.
I felt like the family was very relieved when he was returned to them. And the dad was very protective over him, especially when Mallory was trying to stay in contact with him. And he was like, the Teddy was in therapy and they were very worried about his mental health and the well-being. So they didn't want to push him too far to relive so like obviously this is someone who cares and wants to be a parent. So it just felt like they continued on with their daily lives. Like, your wife has been killed, your
Yeah.
baby has been stolen. Did you do anything to find these people?
Yeah, and I just questioned too I can't remember how far they were in terms of where Caroline and Ted moved away from where the old place was, but
Mhm,
I'm trying to think of when you see missing child posters or
mhm,
they send you it, in the alert text on your phone, is I wonder if it's just a certain area and then that was all they could do, but I don't know. It just seemed a little bit too perfect of a we got away with it for a
mhm.
while. And the
Yeah.
like you said, the family didn't really keep going. I would have been looking everywhere. I don't know. I
Yeah.
would have been putting flyers, but to the point, maybe they just kept that away from the book. There was none of that mentioned, like you said. It was just
Yeah, like,
kinda.
did they do any type of searching? I think that could've been a cool element too if, like, someone was kinda sniffing around.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so he was kidnapped in or she was kidnapped in upstate New
Yeah.
York, and then they lived, like, outside of Philly. So, a
Okay, that's what it
couple
was.
hours away. Also, their downfall, you're like, this is all there's always just one thing that is like, "Really? You've done all this, you figured all this plan out, and this is the thing that's going to throw you?" When she says, "Oh, you're gonna go on a plane again," and Teddy's like, "I've never been on a plane." And she's like, "You lived in Barcelona, of course you've been on a plane. It's water, you cannot drive there." And he's like
Yeah.
adamant, like, "No, we drove." And then that's how she figures it out because he had never been on a plane. And it's like, if you're gonna say you went to Barcelona, kids have no filter, especially that age. Like, they
None.
just say whatever, and they cannot pick up on you being like, "We're gonna lie about this." They just say the truth. Put the like, they should have just flown from New York to Philly, just so the kid could be like, "Yeah, I went on a plane."
Okay, I'm gonna say that, and I think Ted had specifically said, "Oh, nervous or something about planes, so we just gave him a bunch of Benadryl and said that we took a car
Mhm.
there instead." What? How does
Yeah.
that even work? It literally does not make any sense at all. You're right. They should have just taken a plane, even if it was, around the country to say, "Oh, we did go on a
Yeah, we
plane."
went on
And
the plane, it was, yeah, a couple hours. I've been in 3 airports, like, yeah, just you gotta give all the details.
yeah, if you want to get away with it, you need to make it so that the kid has nothing to actually accidentally say, except for the fact, obviously, the real identity and all of that. But besides that, if you think about it, everything else should have been perfectly
Yeah,
covered.
and that was the downfall. That's when she was like, "Wait, something's not adding up here."
Yeah, because then I think she also saw Teddy in the outdoor shower
At
quickly.
the end, yep.
Yeah, You didn't think I was going to be able to tell? And then they tried blaming it on the fact that she was Christian. She goes, "Are you kidding me?" Like, it was just like such a weird, it was picking different things on why Caroline could use it as an excuse. It was just so weird.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I just
know.
feel like everything just like came together very rushed at the end.
Yeah.
And that's when we started getting important details about these characters. Like we had no clue she was Christian until that point. Like
Yeah.
because then they said that was one of the rules, like no religion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was just a you do you boo, but not don't bring it in here type
Yeah.
thing.
So it was just weird to me. That's why I
Yeah.
think I didn't like it because I want to be able to like pick up on little things and have some suspicions. But I really was fully committed to, oh, this is a supernatural force and that's going to like
Yeah.
wreak havoc on like the house is just haunted. That's where I thought we were going. I didn't
I
realize that we
know.
were reading a child abduction book.
Neither did I. And to your point, I'll say it a billion times too, is I really just wish it was Teddy being taken over for revenge on the parents and maybe more on Caroline than on Ted because Ted was kind of forced into it of
Oh
I
yeah.
stole this kid, you need to go bury the dead mother that we just have in a behind a tree or something.
He just seemed like that stupid, like, okay,
Okay.
like I'm just here, I'm for the vibes, whatever
Yeah.
you need. Like,
Yeah.
couldn't think for himself. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, your wife comes out and says, I just stole this child. I've now killed this person, even though she didn't really intentionally mean to kill her. She just stunned her. She
Yeah.
didn't know that the woman has a neurological disorder.
Right.
Um, and she died. Like, okay, honey, can you go bury the body now? I'd be like,
How did no one
what? I'm calling
find
the
the
cops
body?
on you.
Yeah, how did no one find the body during the time that she ran home to tell Ted, "You need to go bury this body," to then you
Yeah, because
waiting
he
until
wasn't at the park
nighttime?
with her.
How?
And then his burying job did not do well because they found it, what, the next day? He put some leaves on top of it,
You
and
could
they
tell
left her
he
car
not
there.
you could totally tell he's not a master at murdering, you know?
Yeah, but that was the best part. They're like, "Oh, she drove to the park, so her car was there. Somehow they knew it was her."
Yeah,
What?
yeah. It
What about the art supplies? Did you pick any of that up? It was just crazy.
and I don't know how long it took them to actually leave either, because was it that as soon as they buried her, they left? I'm totally forgetting and blanking on
I
that
think it was
part.
once they figured the cops identified the person that was missing and
Okay.
then they said, "Oh, she has a daughter." And that's when they cut her hair, changed her name, dressed her in boy clothes,
Yeah.
and
That's
got out.
the only part that was little pieces that made sense to the end was the fact that Teddy was actually a girl because there was a lot of things that Mallory said, "Oh, he hated
Yeah.
the barber shop, he hated being
He only wanted to
forced to
wear
play."
purple.
Yeah, and being forced to play with the other kids and wasn't into that stuff and really enjoyed hanging out with Mallory instead. Like, there were definitely clues, and that was probably the only thing that I could have said, "Oh, a little bit of a stretch, but I could see where that was coming from." That wasn't
Yeah.
completely out there, but the
Mhm.
stolen part, like you said, the abduction, I did not think we were getting that. And then the supernatural, not the ghost, supernatural vibe just goes away as soon as Caroline's killed. Is okay, I don't need your
Yeah.
body anymore. We're good.
Yep. The ghost took over, was like, "We're killing her. We're good now."
Yeah.
I was sad that the neighbor had to die
I
for
really
the sake of
liked
this
her.
because she cracked me up. She had all of her male visitors coming, her Ouija board, she was ready.
It
She
was
was in
great.
it. I also liked the boy that Mallory liked that
Yeah.
was hanging out with her. I like that she had someone like on her side.
Agreed.
Um, not the social worker, the sponsor,
Yeah.
kind of irrelevant to the story.
Yeah. Just there.
Like he got her the job and then he would like call her to give her running plans, which she didn't need because there was no running involved. They just went. I mean, they ran through the woods, but she was running at the speed of a child, so it's not like she needed
Yeah.
to do marathon training for that.
I know. It was definitely I think it was a way to keep her addicted to something else and keep her mind off it.
Oh, that's a good point.
But to your point though, the sponsor was just kind of there randomly and then, "Oh, something's definitely going on. Is everything okay?" But then, "Oh, okay, no, it's no big deal. All right, I'm going to be gone for another couple chapters. I'll see you,
Yeah, I'm going to
80%
Vegas.
through."
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. But
Yeah.
then she like reconnects with her family at the end, and that's when we hear, "Oh, this professor's been trying to get in touch with you."
Yeah. That was weird. I wish it was brought up more of going to the professor for supernatural stuff, or you know, her and Mitzi with the Ouija board. It would have been nice if they actually did a little more into that.
Yeah, it
I
was
don't
fun.
know.
Oh, and then on the Ouija board, and this is kind of like my last thought I have on the book, but
Yeah.
when they're doing the Ouija board, and Mitzi's like, "You're definitely pushing it." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And they're doing those random letters.
Yeah.
The jump the author expected the reader to make with this is in Hungarian, and these X's mean space because of
Spaces.
caution tape. I'm sorry, what? I've never seen caution tape as an X as like a space. It's always just like lines. I was so confused about that jump.
I was
Or
so
like sometimes
lost.
they'll like X out like a doorway, but it doesn't mean space to me. It just means don't enter.
Yeah, it's not a, oh, take a pause, move on to the next word.
Yeah, I just remember reading that part and being like, how did you ever expect me to figure out that these were really clues?
I was seriously trying to go Lord Voldemort and move the letters around, and I go,
Yeah,
none
I
of
thought it
this
was
makes
like
sense.
hidden code or something, but like Hungarian, the X's though, really. Like, okay, fine, it's in a different language because that's what she spoke. That makes
Yeah,
sense. The X's, I'm sorry, what?
we should have just had the letters and that's it. No
Mm-hmm.
X's, just the space. You know what I mean? Put a line and then this and this and this. That,
Yeah, or like move the letters, take a 1 minute break, move the letters again.
yeah. I,
It was just
yeah.
interesting to me.
Yep.
And clearly the woman, she must have known English. At the end, the dad speaks English. I mean, he's had time to learn it, but
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I don't know if she just didn't choose to learn it, but also she's able to channel through Teddy and speak,
yeah,
with us, the fact, or not us, but the reader was able to see, okay, she understands what the questions are being asked and all of that, and it's in English.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Or if you're getting like I, G, N, X, like those the letters, why didn't Mallory and Mitzi switch to asking yes or no questions? Because on a Ouija board, there's a yes and a no
Yeah.
that they can just easily move it to. So just ask yes or no questions.
Right. And then just say, okay, pause here. Let's try to figure this part out. Okay, then we'll move to the next one. And um yeah, I also cannot do a Ouija board. I did one when I was a kid, and I still have yet to go over that friend's basement in God knows how long, but
They're
it
creepy.
they're so creepy, but yeah, it was just the whole vibe. I would have liked if it was creepier.
Yeah.
We could have totally played it up creepy, and it would have been fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That time, like, it just was mid for me.
Yeah.
Three,
Yeah.
not bad. Like, I didn't feel like, oh, I wasted my time. But it's
Yeah.
also not the first thriller I would recommend to people. I definitely think there was opportunities to make it more elevated, more spooky, where it would have been like a 4 or 5 star read.
Agreed. Yeah. There's definitely others I would recommend faster
Yeah.
and easier to other folks. But you know what? I
Mhm.
mean, it was a good read
Yeah.
overall. Just all right. On to the next. It's basically as
Yeah.
I said.
No. Yeah, I agree. Um, any last thoughts before we move to the next one?
No, I think the biggest thing for me was, like we said at the beginning, was the drawings just really helped. So I really just enjoyed that part. So that at
Mhm.
least made it a little bit better. Because if we didn't have that, I think I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. So
Yeah.
if
Completely agree.
people
That was a
like
really good choice.
drawings, if they want to see that, then definitely the book for you to have some
They were
visuals.
creepy. They definitely added another layer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can move on to book two that we read.
Yeah.
So we read Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Caine, which is actually part of a series. Um, so this was just book one that we were reading. And the book description was Gina Royal is the definition of average, a shy Midwestern housewife with a happy marriage and two adorable children. But when a car accident reveals her husband's secret life as a serial killer, she must remake herself as Gwen Proctor, the ultimate warrior mom. With her ex now in prison, Gwen has finally found refuge in a new home on remote Stillhouse Lake. Though still the target of stalkers and internet trolls who think she had something to do with her husband's crimes, Gwen dares to think her kids can finally grow up in peace. But just when she's starting to feel at ease in her new identity, a body turns up in the lake, and threatening letters start arriving from an all too familiar address. Gwen Proctor must keep friends close and enemies at bay to avoid being exposed, or watch your kids fall victim to a killer who takes pleasure in tormenting her. One thing is certain, she's learned how to fight evil, and she'll never stop. So, I'm turning it on you now.
Okay.
What did you rate it overall? And did you think it was spooky vibes?
So I rated it 4 stars. I thought it was very suspenseful, which is really good for me. I like those type of reads, especially when you're getting into the action part of it and you feel as if you might need to reread a part because you kind of read too fast. Or at least maybe that's just me of missing paragraphs and kind of skipping ahead. But I think it hit the spooky vibe for me at least. It was the fact that you get that feeling that you're always being watched or someone's trying to ruin your life every turn you take and you have to watch your back. Do you make friends? There's no one you can trust. And you know everyone was suspicious for me as soon as the beginning, so I know I'm getting into a little bit of it, but I think the reason why I liked it so much was I just was so concerned of, okay, well, who's the real person that we need to watch out for? And then every single person had something interesting about them that I thought brought more to the story. So
Mhm.
it was a good one. I definitely I liked it. It went fast for me. Even though the chapters were really long, it still went fast, which is weird. So
Yeah.
what about you? Did
I
you have similar thoughts?
Yeah, so I gave it 3.75, but for Goodreads purposes, a 4.
Before?
I thought the beginning really gripped you when you're seeing the aftermath of the car crashing into their garage and she's learning about her husband.
Yeah.
And then we jump 4 years and she's like this new woman. I did feel like it slowed down a little bit once we make that transition to her buying the house on Stillhouse Lake, but I totally understand the reason behind that is we're needing to set up her new life here and the feeling of she's starting to become more at ease and not feeling like she needs to be on the run constantly. So I totally understand why the change in pace there. Um, and I definitely still think it kept it interesting. Like you said, we're meeting these different characters. We're starting to kind of be suspicious of people and what's going on. Then once the body turns up, the first one that's like in the nearby town, then the one on the lake, the police are coming and questioning, and it turns out Lonnie saw something. That's when I was like, okay, this is really going to ramp up. That was like the 35% mark. And then I would say like 65% on was nonstop action, which
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. And for the spooky season question, this gave me such creepy vibes. One, because of the serial killer aspect in general, but in the manner in which these people were killed, like their skin was pulled off, there was muscle showing, they
Ugh.
were tied to cinder blocks and put in the bottom of the lakes, like so creepy.
Yeah.
It just made me like I couldn't. I was just like ugh when I was reading it,
I have chills
and
right now thinking about it because it was so detailed.
it was very detailed and I could not even imagine having to see that. But then
No.
also she's just in this remote small town. Like that added to the creepiness. Everyone knows everyone, but like do you really know them?
Right. And here's this random outsider. What are you doing here?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I liked this one a lot.
Mhm.
So yeah, we were right around the same for the ratings. So now we can move to the plot and characters. I know you started kind of touching on a little bit. So do you want to give us your thoughts on like plot of the story and then maybe characters and who you're suspicious of?
Yeah. So, like you said, it started, we get the background story very quickly of what happened. And then fast forward. And like you said, it slows down a bit because her and her family are getting used to that area. They're getting comfortable. I think we meet Javier first, but also Officer Graham, and then we meet Sam, and then we get a couple random people here and there. We get Easy, and is it Joe? Is it the Johansons? Was their name?
Hmm.
I was blanking on how you said
Yeah,
their last
that's
name.
just how they like refer to them.
Okay, because we didn't get their names, but I just knew of them as being part of the neighbors. So you get a nice grouping of people that you need to know and probably have something to do with the story. And then you get some trickle in here and there. So like I liked how we slowly but surely get more people as you go into the story and then each kind of plays a part. It was interesting though, and I'm jumping a little bit based on characters because I'll go back, but Keys came out of nowhere for me. And I just felt like it was a little bit of a last minute ad. Officer Graham was kind of there. He brought back Connor's phone. He was checking in, making sure they were okay, welcoming to the neighborhood. I'm a friendly cop, friendly face, all of that. And then we had Sam, who was I'm a writer, I'm here for a little bit, but starts warming up to him, which I really liked. It was interesting because I think Gwen at one point said that he kind of looked familiar of some
Hmm.
sort of, there was something about him that just looked, she couldn't put her finger on it, but there was a point there. So I like how we got that in it. And then obviously we find out, true colors of every single person as the book goes. So I like that. And Javier was interesting to me. I don't know why, and I don't know if they explained this, and this is such a tangent. Was he short, or am I just imagining this person to be a little bit short and stocky and ready to
I
go
don't
to
know
for a
how they
fight?
described him.
I don't
I did
know.
not picture him short.
I had him short and stocky, and then I had Sam a little bit taller and not lanky, but
Oh, I had Sam like looking like a mountain man.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had Officer Graham, kind of just your typical cop vibe. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain that, but they have a look about them that just kind of
Hmm.
seems the same. But yeah, in my head, that's how I was doing it. So it was interesting. But I am curious on your thought because um, I didn't have much on the kids because they kind of were just there for me as just players in the game. They weren't specifically targeted in my thoughts. Like everyone else I had notes on, but specifically the kids, it was kind of just, oh, typical kids,
Yeah.
preteens
They were doing
vibes.
kid things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I felt like the plot moved a little bit slower in the beginning,
Yeah.
but then, once things started like happening, it was pretty quick moving from there, which I
Yeah.
really enjoyed. And the slow part wasn't a huge chunk of the book, and it
No.
felt natural to the storyline. Um, I will say though, when we were kind of in that slower point where she's at ease and she's starting to like fall for Sam and let
Yeah.
her guard down, I was a little unclear of like what the actual plot was going to be, like what we were building up to. Obviously, she's getting the letters from her ex-husband at the jail. The bodies turned up. Lonnie saw something, but then after that one questioning, it kind of died. And then that chapter where she's starting to fall for Sam, it felt like that was over the course of a few months because she talked about the summer and then the kids were going back to school.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's been a lot of time has passed. At least that's how I felt since that initial questioning. So I was like, oh, they must have dropped that and solved it. So I was like, okay, I'm confused what big thing we're building up to.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, around 65% through the book, I think it was like chapter 11, that's when that murder comes back around and really things start ramping up. And I felt like that was great. And I really started cycling through lots of different suspects at that point because now I knew where we were going. I did have some notes on the kids though.
Okay.
The son, Connor, gives me creepy vibes.
Interesting. Okay.
And at one point, I thought maybe the son was the killer. The dad's obviously able to reach them because he's sending letters to Mallory, getting the books confused, sending letters to Gwen. That I was like, maybe he's found some way to communicate with his son
Interesting. Okay.
because he kept going off on his own. He would disappear from school. He was found on the dock that one day, and
Yeah.
he was always just in his room, very solitary. And the dad made a comment, or even Gwen makes a comment, like in her head to the reader, like he has a lot of similarities to his father.
Yeah.
The way he reacts, the way he likes to do his own thing, it's very reminiscent of the dad. And so I was like, maybe, he was young when this happened. He's trying to connect with a father figure, and the dad
Right.
preyed on that. So I was like, maybe he's doing this. I kind of was on that for a hot second.
Interesting.
Lonnie, I just love her attitude. She's typical teenager. Like, let me just shoot
Perfect.
a gun, please. But she really was protective, and she's Gwen in the making.
Yeah.
Gwen is a mama bear.
100%.
Sam, I knew was suspicious from the moment we met him. I said something is off because the first couple times we see him, he doesn't come like he doesn't say anything to them. He doesn't even acknowledge them. Then all of a sudden
Yeah.
he starts like, "Why did you find the kid on the dock? You just went up and talked to this random kid. You wouldn't even talk to this woman." That it was weird to me. So then I
Yeah.
was like, maybe they're in cahoots. And it got weirder for me. He kept like, when they would have regular conversation, it felt like he was holding back something and he would want to say something and then hold it back. And she noticed it too. So I was like, he definitely has some secret. And then when she confesses to him, hey, like, this is really my background, I found the reaction to be really strange. And multiple times he said, aren't you more concerned about relatives of the victims finding you? And she kept saying, yes, I am, but I understand why they're upset. And I think that he genuinely did have a change of heart in that moment. I think that
Yeah.
was the turning point for him. But he said it so many times that I was like, he's definitely a relative, or he knows, is friends with someone who's a relative, because he's brought it up way too much. It wasn't one thing just quickly in passing. It was, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 times he says it.
It is so funny. I did not pick up on that at all because I actually said I was more shocked he was a brother of the victims. I thought he was just a huge fan of Mel. I thought he was,
Hmm.
a super fan, loved it, and then, oh, I found you. I'm gonna get to know you more and get you comfortable with me. I'm gonna, build relationships with your kids. And so for me, the whole being the brother of one of the victims did not pick up on. But now that you say that
Mm.
it was literally mentioned 3 or 4 times, probably should have picked up on that at
It
some
just,
point.
and maybe it's not, but it felt like it was brought up a lot. And the way it was enough where I was like, okay, why does he keep saying this?
Right.
And even I think one time he says it and she was caught off guard with that response, but then was like, no, yeah, I completely agree. I am worried about that, but I totally understand where they're coming from. So I was like, he's definitely connected to the victims. He's definitely found them. And then I was thinking, okay, he's probably doing these killings to frame her.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was happening. And I was dead set on that for a while until they bring him into the police station. And I love that I recorded myself reading this book because I remember the percentages things happened at, and I can see my brain like where I was going. Because I literally say in my like recording, I say, I knew Sam was suspicious, but knowing like how thriller books work, we were at 65% when he gets brought into the jail. I was like, it's too early to be
Way too
figuring
early.
it out because what are we going to do for the rest of the book? So I was like, he's definitely not the killer. Like
Yeah.
he has a connection. And I felt like at that point he was, to me at least, I felt like he was like the obvious suspect. And I was like, no, this is too early to have an obvious suspect. That's how you know you're starting to read these a lot when you're like, it's, I know the arc of when things are supposed to happen in the
Right.
book. Uh, so then after Sam, I moved on to Javier.
Same. Same.
And even from the beginning of him, I was like, there has to be another layer to him. He's just the gun range owner. There has to be another layer.
Yeah.
And he was going to give her the van so she could get away because he was like asking, are you part of, like a domestic violence thing, an abusive situation? I was shocked when he turned out to be the reserve officer. I didn't think he was police.
Mm.
I don't know. I thought he was like I don't know, like hired hitmen or something.
So I
Like I
will
wanted him to
say,
have some crazy background.
I know. So I thought he was just too goody two shoes, but it was hiding something else of I have a mean streak about me. It's similar to I guess how Mel was, where he was, the perfect husband in from the outside looking in,
Hmm.
but then once you got into it, there was a lot of issues. But yeah, I suspected Javier for a while. The part that I really suspected him, which I think was purposely put in here, was when Gwen goes to the shooting range after I think the second one was found, and I think she had talked to
Hmm.
Mel on the phone, and Javier just leaves her by
Yep.
herself with I think it was Sophie or Sophia
Hmm.
working the register. I literally said, I go, what is he gonna now go and kill Sophie just for the fact that we're gonna frame it on Gwen, the fact that she's there by herself, no one else is there. So
Hmm.
for me, it was that, but then it took a whole different spin. It
That exact scene was where I was like, oh my, I have this recorded. I
Yeah.
literally say, it's for sure Javier. And I called it from the
Yeah.
beginning. I was dead set because before he leaves, though, she's shooting. She's like gone through, she's about to pack up. And he puts her in that bay all the way at the end. And she's like, is this where the outcasts go? It was like super dark. And I was like, oh, he's putting
Creepy.
her in a dark bay because he's going to kill her
Yeah.
like in the dark. But then he comes out and he's perfectly under like a spotlight, and he starts being just so rude and questioning her. And I was like, he's so sketchy that he definitely did this.
Yeah.
I was dead set. So I
Yep.
was upset that it wasn't him because I was convinced.
I will say, once we find out, obviously it's Officer Graham and everything, the only thing that made me say, oh, he was suspicious at the beginning was because of his kids kind of taking their, was it anger at towards Connor or
Mhm.
whatever it was. Um, but I didn't, he was just too quiet. He wasn't in there as much. So it was kind of just, he was off to the side. He wasn't in the story as much as I expected him to. So that's why I didn't suspect him as much. I thought he was weird and interesting of, because he asked, I don't know if you caught on this, he asked about the not the safe room, the panic room a good couple times. Every time he checked in was,
Yeah.
"Oh, what about the panic room? Does that still work? Do you have a panic room?" And I thought that was really weird, but I thought it was just a, I'm a cop, I gotta check all of my bases to see how you're doing, but I did not expect it to be him actually being the killer whatsoever.
Yeah, the panic room thing, I definitely clocked it. Like, why is he asking this?
Yeah.
But I didn't put too much weight behind it. And obviously, at the end, when we find out, this all makes sense. But he
Yeah.
was very in and out of the story.
Yeah.
I think she makes a comment in the beginning, like, I know he's my neighbor, but he really hasn't, he's not really home, or he hasn't really come to make conversation with me. And he was staying away from her until he had to bring the phone back, was the first time. And
Yeah.
then he comes in, he's super nice to her. And then he's just kind of not really around.
Yeah.
Um, his kids were definitely suspicious to me because Connor, obviously, like, they definitely, like, they took his phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't he dropped it. And then he makes comments like, he asked her, because she was like, oh, is it okay, like, if we hang out with them? And he was like, yeah, but I don't want to hang out with his kids.
Yeah. That was a big thing.
And he was very much trying to stay away. And then I think Lonnie says, like, oh, they're bullying him. There was clues that he did not get along with the sons. But I just thought it was like normal, like, I'm the new kid and these boys are bullying me. I thought it was just more like normal
Yeah.
playground stuff. But when we did find out it was him, I was like, literally, fuck you for bringing your kids into this sick, twisted thing. And honestly, I don't think there's any saving those kids at this point because they were such good actors. I forget, I think his name was like Lenny or something,
Yeah.
or Lee or something like that. The younger one, when they go to the cabin and he runs out and he's like, I didn't want to do it. My dad made me do it. And he's fully acting because then he pulls a gun on the cop.
Wild.
I was like, there's no saving these kids. They're too far gone.
No, it's bad because I kind of wanted it to be more on the our dad made us do it. This is why we were being, bullies. We were doing this, blah blah blah. Because I think it would have been that typical, my dad's the tough one where our mom's not around wherever she was. And Gwen asked that randomly if I've never even known where Graham's wife or
Yeah.
or where
We
the
don't get an
kid's
answer
mom
for
is.
it.
No. So it's just kind of there, but yeah, there's definitely no saving them in my mind. They were so twisted too. The fact that they had no problem helping their dad with this and we're going to just shoot everyone with a massive do they have a shotgun? I think they
Yeah,
had
he had
it
a
one
shotgun.
point. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah, because the older one ran up and put a shotgun to her. Also, they brought her kids to the cabin that had the murder room in the basement that was to a T the same. So the kids saw it. And then she even said,
oh,
like, I wonder if the older son helped him push the girls because he's heavy, or helped him lure the girls into the car. So
yeah.
they're so complicit. It's not
Oh,
even funny.
oh god,
It's
it was
gross.
so
Like, that part
gross.
I did not like, the kids
Mm-mm.
being crazy. But now it makes sense why he was like, I really don't want to hang out with them. I'm sure they used to brag about it at school.
There had to be something that they talked about that's why Connor was so quiet. I mean, like you said, quiet kid, new kid on the block, but also he was super nerdy too, which doesn't
Mhm.
help as well when you're new in the area, is they immediately just go to pick on that type of kid. But there had to have been something mentioned. And the kids were not saying anything to Gwen because they know that she's super, mama bear, protective, would have just
Like,
up and
and they
moved
wanted to
them.
stay, and she wouldn't move them, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot that they kept. I mean, Connor mentioned it that, about the phone, about the codes, and just like there was a lot of things that he left because he didn't
Yeah,
want
he
his
kept
mom to get mad.
yeah, he put the codes in the phone. I wish I had picked up on the phone thing because I just assumed, like, oh, the kids stole it
Yeah.
just to be bullies and be mean. And then the dad saw it and was like, we need to return it.
Yeah.
And it did not cross my mind that they were cloning the phone
Mm-mm.
or taking like she even like says, oh, maybe they were going through it. But if she was so worried about it, I thought then as someone who's so overly protective and so alert, if she was really concerned that there was something in there, then she would have gone through it.
Okay, I'm glad you said it because my thing is as soon as you get that phone back, you think you would have said, I'm just going to destroy it. I'm going to change everything that might have been on here.
Yeah, or
Everything
like
in this house
double
is
check.
compromised.
Yeah, because she was like, oh, I know he just has my phone number, his sister's phone number, but she never went through it to see did he have codes in there.
Right. Yeah, and you think too with the fact that she had had a couple people in her house at that point, like, even though I think it was just politeness and all of that. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but you think you would have changed the code to that panic room every once in a while? That
Mm-hmm.
way the kids, because like you said, they had been there for a long time too. You think as her suspicions got worse, she would have changed that so that there was some type of protection just in case, but I think it was little things
Yeah.
that she kind of just left and said, "All right, I'm more stressed about the outside rather than inside the house."
Or even the door code, like the front door
Mhm.
code, because people watched her come in and
Yeah.
out of her home. And then later she's like, oh, did they memorize it? Did they see me type it? Yeah, you think she would have been like, every 2 weeks we're changing the codes.
Javier's reason why I also suspected him was because of the codes. You just brought a memory back, is he was there when she was typing it in, and now
Hmm.
that I think about it, I feel like I don't know if Officer Graham was there when she typed anything in, but the other two, Sam and Javier, definitely had to be there at some point to see the codes. So
Yeah.
again, Officer not in my mind. He was just kind of a small town cop, maybe more serious than others, but
Yeah. That same exact point is why I thought Javier. And also because when the kids are taken and she's like, who would they have let in the door that would have
yep.
taken Javier? They knew him. He had been to the house a few times. They would have let him. He had watched them while she was arrested the first or taken into custody the first time.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they would definitely let him in. I was like, they're not going to let in Officer Graham. They're not going to let in his kids. Now it makes sense. They knew the codes. They got
Yeah.
in, but that's why I was thinking Javier as well. And then I know you mentioned the Johansons. And have you ever seen The Purge, any of those movies?
I haven't, but I hate them. Not the movies. I hate the Johansons so much.
Oh, yeah. So The Purge, like I've only seen the first one, but there's all these rich families in it, and it's like they stick to themselves, and then all of a sudden, like on Purge night, they all have all the best weapons, the best disguises. Like, they're out there like going crazy, and I don't know. The Johansons gave me like Purge vibes. They're irrelevant. We don't ever meet them. We don't know their first names. They just live on the house and we don't
Yeah.
interact. But then the second like shit is going down, the Johansons are there in their SUV. They're like, "Oh shit, people are spray painting her garage door. I'm there. They're blocking the driveway."
Oh my god, when that group of people tried to start
Mhm.
basically attacking her and they just block it as well of they weren't moving. Like they
Yeah,
know someone's attacking this person and their
but they're like wants
kids.
to be part of it. They're like, "Ooh, action!" Like nothing happens. Like they
I
want to
hate
be
them.
by themselves, chilling. The whole book have no interest. We don't see them interact with anyone. The second stuff's going down, they're there. They're those
Yep.
nosy neighbors. They want to be in on it. Then they are chasing her up the hill.
Yeah.
Then at another point, I think when she's being arrested the second time, we see their SUV drive by.
Mhm.
Like they're those people. The ambulance is coming down the road, the fire truck. They're like, "Oh, now I care.
I
Roll out."
hated them so much. It was
It gave me Purge vibes. I don't know why. Like, just like could not be bothered with the little people
yeah.
until this one night, and now they're like, "Oh my god, yes, we need to get revenge on this woman." It's like you've
Yep.
never even talked to her.
Oh my god, it was the total, "This is our area. We don't want outsiders here. We're gonna frame anything and make you pretty much too afraid to come back." Because I don't even know if they obviously, we don't know because we literally do not interact with them, if they knew that she was the ex-wife of a murderer and stuff like
Yeah,
that, like,
we have no
I
clue.
don't
Or
I
they just
don't
like, "Oh, stuff's happening. Let's go join."
Yeah, let's just go join. It's a great Sunday
I have
afternoon.
no clue what their motive was. I don't like them either. I'm so like, what is going on? I don't know why. They just like really gave me Purge vibes. Like, oh, this night, put your mask on, get your weapons, roll out. Every other night, we're in bed.
Yeah, I just hated them so much.
In
Everywhere
their
in my
stupid
comments were
SUV.
always. It was as if they just permanently lived in that SUV.
I just love how they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna block your driveway." We see these people trying to literally kill you.
Yeah, we've got drunks crawling out of a trunk.
That was also giving me, like, zombie vibes, like, the drunks just climbing up the hill. I love when they rolled the car over and they couldn't figure out. I was like, "What is happening here? What's going on in this town?" And it
It
was
was
the
so
guy from the gun
entertaining.
range at the beginning. I was like, "What is going on?"
That was such a
Um,
stretch of why he came back. That was such bull, in my opinion, of just here's
yeah.
some random guy that we had earlier on who was so
Yeah, I think his
mad,
name was
blah, blah, blah.
Carl or something.
Yeah, it was so
Um,
bad.
and then the last big character was Kez,
Yeah.
and I am still suspicious, actually. I need to see if the second book follows the same family or
I'm
if it's like a
so
new kid
curious. I was
or if
so
it's new.
mad at the end.
Yeah, that was wild. Okay, it does still follow. Okay, so the second book confirmed, I just checked, does follow the same family. Perfect. So I
Okay.
wonder now, I didn't read it enough to confirm if they stay or they're moving to a new location. If Kez continues to be a character in the second book, I'm suspicious of her.
I am too.
Came out of nowhere, lied about the reasoning, saying it was her dad. You're preying on the elderly?
Mhm.
Mm-mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Then, the way when Gwen called Kez off of Graham's phone, the way she answered, it could have gone one of two ways. The sentences were vague enough, or broad enough, I should say, where it worked for her being like, I know what you're doing, like, you're a bad guy, or it would have worked for, I'm your accomplice.
I agree. There was
I'm
also
suspicious.
I agree. So there was a point where remember when Keys made the whole list of I don't know, people in the area that could have been suspects.
Yes, with like 29 of them or whatever.
She removes Officer Graham. But then
Hmm.
fast forward, there's a point where Keys they mention that Keys is suspicious of Graham for a long time.
Yeah.
Why would
Why'd you
you
take them off?
remove him off the list if you're suspicious?
Hmm.
Contradicts immediately.
Yep. Yeah. That was weird. So I don't know. I'm just suspicious of her
Yeah.
moving into this as the series continues.
I forgot it was a series. I knew going in, right? We had talked
There's
about it.
6 books, I think.
Yeah, we talked about this and then I read it and I literally put my Kindle down politely, lost it, swore so many times in a row and I go, "This is how they ended this book?" And then saw that it was a series. I go, "Oh, this
Well, I
makes more
didn't know until I
sense."
saw that TikTok of someone being like, "I just read the 6th book in the Stillhouse Lakes." I was like, "It's a series?" And so I knew, okay, there's definitely gonna be some type of cliffhanger at the end
Yeah.
to get you to wanna read the next one. I thought it was a really good cliffhanger, but I'm glad that, like,
Yeah.
this plot of this book was wrapped up, and then it introduced a new problem that for because I hate when it's not solved and it's like, "Oh, you gotta read 3 books to solve this one thing."
Yeah.
Uh, so I did like that, and obviously our last character is Melvin, who is the worst person ever.
I
Creep.
have
So freaking creepy. The way he talks is so creepy. And I'm just like, you know what?
yeah.
Gwen, Gina, whatever you want to go by. I kind of understand why people were suspicious of you because how could you not pick up on this? The way he talks is so creepy.
Well, then she goes back and starts explaining their relationship. The
Mhm.
fact that he proposed in
The Ferris wheel.
the Ferris wheel, and she goes, "He probably liked it because there was no escape for me." Okay, what? And then
Yeah.
you find this romantic thing. I don't find that romantic, but maybe that's just because I don't really like Ferris wheels. I
Yeah. It was like
could
little
be.
things that I could see how she didn't think much about them. The one that you
Yeah,
cannot look past though is when she talks about the time they're having sex and he like how he likes breath work and would
yeah,
choke her to the point where she could only get a small stream of breath in and out of her body.
yep,
And it wasn't on one occasion. Like she said that like, that's what he was into. I'm
yeah.
sorry, that's concerning. Why does he like to choke you to where you almost cannot breathe?
And it's also interesting because typically when you're into that type of thing, shouldn't it be an agreed upon thing instead of
Yeah, and
just
she
a
was not into it.
right? It's an abusive thing at that point. plain as day, because if the two people consent and say yes, that's the weird shit that we like, then you do you. That's your thing. That's your prerogative. But there was no sense from her that said that they ever really agreed upon it. It was just something he
No.
did and wanted to do.
And I think she said, like, one time she said no, and he got really angry. And
Yeah.
she was like, I never said no again about that.
Oh,
You are allowed to say no. No means no.
yeah.
And it has to
Also,
be things, yeah, like you both enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it,
right. Exactly. And then go you super creep. I do not like him. What was confusing to me at the end, but also why I cannot stand him even more. So help me out here if you picked up on this, because I think I started reading way too fast because I was super pissed. But did he want his kids and her alive so that in that room he could torture the kids in front of Gwen? Because Graham recreated that room.
mm-hmm,
Mel is escaped at that point, which perfect timing. Oh,
mm-hmm,
accidentally has escaped. No, he was totally coming back. Because I think at one point he mentions that, those are his kids. I think even Graham said, no, they're his kids, they're not
yeah,
yours. So was he going to kill his own kids? Was he going to torture them similar to how he tortured all of these girls that he murdered? Like, it was just, there's so many questions of, and that's where I didn't like it, because I really don't like when kids are involved in that sense. It bothers me a bit. So it made me hate Mel even more, of
yeah.
this guy needs to die. Plain and
I
simple.
don't, I don't think they ever came out and said
Okay.
what the plan was. My thought or my guess is he was going to use the kids as bait to get Gina there because I don't think Graham was actually going to kill Gina or
Okay.
Gwen.
Yeah.
I don't think he was actually going to kill Gwen. I think he was going to walk her up or try and lure her somewhere. I think because Melvin said, I can't wait to kill you. Like,
Yeah.
he made this that he wanted to be the one when she went to visit him. And in his letters, he used to describe how he was going to
Ugh.
kill her. And I don't think the letters ever made mention of killing the kids. It was always like, how are the kids doing? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking he was going to use the kids as like a bait almost to get her there,
Okay.
get her down there. Then he was going to kill her. And even though she said like he definitely didn't have a partner because he would want all the glory himself, I think, and this could be totally wrong, I got the sense that maybe he wanted to like groom the kids into taking on the family business.
Ugh. Could be.
Whether or not that's both of them, maybe just the son and
Could
forget
be.
about Lonnie. But I didn't get the sense that he wanted to kill them because
Okay.
he seemed to care about them. And like she said, like they are a piece of him. So he has too much pride. But I think
Yeah.
he wanted to kill her for sure.
Oh my god, because I was so concerned on what's gonna happen with these kids now that they're in this room. Like, if we play it of a she did not escape and did not hurt Graham enough to be able to get out of the situation, what are you doing? And what are
Yeah, he
Graham's
probably
kids
honestly would have.
doing?
Yeah, he probably would have just taken the kids, gone on the run, like if she had died,
Yeah,
and then yeah, like made them basically do what Graham's kids did.
wild. Absolutely wild. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm curious now that I know again that it's a series. Are you interested in, because I think the next one we said definitely
Yeah,
covers the same group. Are you gonna read it? Are you interested in reading it?
yeah, I'm gonna read it.
Okay. I
I
think I
want to know
am
what
too. I
goes
just
on.
want to know what happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious of what's going on here.
Yeah. Same.
My TBR list is getting long, but like I need to know like how he, and I put this like in my other thoughts, like
Yeah.
I need to know if Gwen and Sam rekindle their relationship
Agreed.
because it seems like there was like some awkwardness between them and then they talk. She saves him from being shot in the head.
Yeah.
Who was that, one of the kids? I think
I
it
don't
had to have
know.
been.
I think maybe Kyle. That
Yeah,
way,
someone tried to kill him,
it
take him
was a
out.
tall enough person, because I think Kyle would have been a reasonable height, is my
Or maybe it
assumption.
was Graham because the blood inside of Gwen's house was Kyle's blood.
Maybe it was. Yeah. Hmm.
Needless to say, though, I feel like they have a
Yeah.
bonding moment when they're like trying to find the kids together. So I need
Yeah.
to know if they rekindle. I
Yep.
need to know how Mel and the other prisoners escaped, why this group of prisoners was picked, or was it just like, hey, I'm blowing a hole through the wall, get out if you can?
Right.
Where he is now,
Yeah.
is he coming to find them? And how is he going to do that? Because they have to all be trying to find him.
Right.
And I'm itching for them to confirm who was the person helping him on the inside. Which guard in the prison was bad? And does this guard also have a connection to this Absalon, however you say his name, the hacker that, which, like, honestly, Gwen, dumb. This person was a troll, like an internet bully for you, doxing you on the internet. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
you give this person your side of the story and they have this complete change of heart and they're going to help you. You weren't suspicious of that? And
Well, and
this person gave her everything, her identities, her phones, her found her the homes she lived in.
yeah.
Like, you should have had multiple hackers on. One gives you an identity, one gives you a home, one gives you a phone. Why was this one guy doing everything?
I thought the same thing of, oh, it was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a shock. It was more just, oh, okay, this is where this person comes into play about the fact that Graham also had his number saved or their number saved in his phone. But to your point, it should have, with how paranoid she was on every other thing. Why is she willing to trust a stranger that she's never met? And like you said, was a troll in the first part. Like,
Yeah.
I,
And
I wouldn't have
honestly, I
trusted
wasn't
him.
even suspicious of the hacker because I was like, clearly, she must have done her due diligence if now she's trusting him with all this information,
Right.
like basically all of their new lives. So I was like, okay, maybe this is supposed to be like, hey, like we've done it and you don't need to be worried. But
Yeah.
then he comes back at the end and I want to find out who he actually is.
I wanna know
Or
too.
she. We don't know.
I know, because I really question, is it
Maybe it's
a
Kez.
that could be interesting. That would actually be really cool if it was Kez.
Maybe it's the Johansons.
Fucking Johansons.
Just to
I
bring him back.
they're gonna have to watch them move to a different town, and the Johansons are still around.
They
Oh,
come driving by in the SUV.
we vacation here.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I hope we find out like the identity of
I do too.
this hacker.
It was enough
Uh
to make me want to read it immediately just so I could find it out, but I know I'm gonna sound bad, even though it does sound like there's 6 in this series or whatever, I don't think that this one should go longer than another book. How do you keep it going that
yeah,
long? He's
I think you need
escaped.
yeah, I think you need to tie up this one and then
Yeah,
a character of that becomes the focus of the next one. Yeah, I
right.
agree.
Like,
6
give
books for
us
this would be
next
kind of
act.
long.
It's act 1's done, okay, we find out who's killing the new people, and then act 2 is Mel's revenge, or
Yeah.
Mel's escape route to try and find revenge. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. So I am curious to see how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Um I know we've covered a lot of the kind of twists and stuff. Was there
Yeah.
anyone that we didn't touch on yet that you had?
No.
Twists or shocking moments?
We covered on everything that I had that was interesting about
Okay,
the book.
same. And then I gave you what my other thoughts were, like things I'm looking forward to,
Yeah.
like figuring out was there um anything else on that like you have outstanding questions on?
No, because I think the biggest thing was really I should have picked up on Graham earlier with asking about the panic room, like I said. It was just something I breezed past because it was, "Oh, okay, whatever." He's probably just curious about the
Hmm.
house because he's probably never been in it or something like that,
Yeah.
but, everyone else, I had high suspicion. It was, we
Yeah.
met someone and in my notes goes, "I'm suspicious." What are
Suspicious.
every time I could not get past the suspicion at all,
Yeah.
so
All right. Well, then, out of the two books, which one did you prefer more?
I think we could probably can tell by the conversation, but I would pick Stillhouse like 100% out of the 2.
Same. I think it's also just the style I like more.
Yeah.
Like, I like when you have a bigger group of characters that you're kind of dealing with, and I like when they're more realistic things. Like,
Yeah.
I like reading the supernatural stuff, but you have to, like, really, I don't know, immerse yourself and, like, let go of all belief and things. And I like this is just like, it's a straight up, like, serial killer and someone's copycatting it.
Yeah. It is a twisted way that someone was killing, the fact that it was happening right next to her and the in the garage. You're never allowed to go in
That
there.
was
There's
crazy.
too many expensive tools. Like that to me, as bad as it sounds, you could totally picture someone having a workshop next to their house and saying, "Oh no, that's that's his
Yeah.
area or their area, whatever you want to say." And then you find out that they're just murdering people constantly.
Yeah.
What?
That I know, it's like, we've said everything we wanted to say, but that was wild.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get that. Like, a man cave, their own separate area,
Yeah.
I get that. You weren't concerned when he removed the, like, retractable door so you could park your car in there. You weren't concerned when he puts a full-on padlock on the door.
Yeah.
When he covers up the access from the house to this area. So he, like, wouldn't that be more convenient? I'm going to go to my area. I don't have to go. But no, he's like purposely forcing himself to have to walk outside. Like, some bells there.
Also, when is he bringing these bodies to his garage that no
Probably
one in
middle of
his
the night.
but like no one saw? So he's just bringing them probably, I'm guessing, in a
Or
duffel bag.
she makes a comment that she would go to church with the kids on Sunday, and sometimes he would stay home.
Okay,
Maybe
so
that's when. But like, your neighbors didn't see him dragging these bodies in.
again, I don't understand. But she
There was a
also
couple
had that
things.
creepy neighbor, or not creepy neighbor, the neighbor who
The
basically just
gossipy one.
immediately said, "I want the fame. She was involved, blah, blah, blah." And then that was it. All you
Yeah.
one sentence to
Also,
completely
that
ruin.
sucks. He had everything, that storage unit, money saved up, ready to go. First of all, how do you hide $200,000 from your wife that you, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's crazy that it all was just taken down because some drunk driver hit their garage.
I don't know why, but when it said that an accident had shown that he did it or
I
something,
thought, like, yeah, it was like
I thought
this
she
big
went into
horrific. I didn't realize it was like just some random person middle of the day drove into their garage.
right? Just this poor lifeless woman just
Just
dead in the
saying.
garage. And then it ended up being Sam's sister. I go, "Oh, that's a little sad."
Yeah, that was crazy. And they're
Right.
like, "Do you know about this?" She's like, "No, I don't know about this."
Right. I what happened to lie detectors? Do people use that thing anymore?
Clearly not.
I don't know.
Um,
I know that's not
I,
like 100% true science of like maybe that's not what they use in actual law. I'm just making it up by on what I see on TV. But for Christ's sake, you think they would have used it on her to show exactly that she panicked. She freaks out when she sees this dead body hanging. I
yeah,
don't know that many good actors in terms of being able to do that.
yeah. I wish we got like more details of like how long she was in jail for,
Yeah,
all that stuff that was going on. Were they in the same jail? Like, I don't know. I
right.
had
Like, did
thoughts on it.
anything happen to her there?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you don't have any Throne of Glass updates this time because we read 2 books this time.
I
But
don't. I know.
we do have exciting Fourth Wing announcements that came out. So if we want to talk about that, literally the day after we recorded, on my 30th birthday, Rebecca gave me a birthday gift, which was the bonus Xaden POV for the Fourth Wing paperbacks that released, which also wild that the paperbacks are just coming out. That book came out like a year and a half ago, 2 years
I
ago.
didn't realize
Wild.
that this was the
I didn't
first
realize it
version.
either.
Nope.
I didn't realize it either, but I think it's just because like when I went in to buy Iron Flame, they had the hardcovers. I didn't even
Yeah.
think of it. So it is chapter 27
Yes.
in the paperback. It is Xaden's POV. We both read it because some kind person on Instagram posted it, so we didn't have to buy it because I was not buying another copy. Um, what did you think?
So immediately, I just want to reread the series because it made me miss Empyrean so much. The whole vibe. It just, I wanted to get back into it again, but I know that I need to give it time because we have the third one coming out, in a couple months. Um, It was interesting getting another Xaden POV because it's always nice to see that different side of a situation going on. I will say, hands down, do not remember half the stuff that happened because the two books started blending to me after I read them.
Yeah.
So there are parts I said, wait, did this really happen or when did this happen? So I can't wait to do the reread and remember exactly where it came in. But the part that I specifically picked up on, was Xaden felt this wispy silver thread kind of pulling him and Violet together, and how he sensed it way before. It was right after that that she had her dragons and that Taryn and Sigale are, mated and or bonded, whatever it is, that the two of them are together. And now that she's with the same dragon, it's kind of become that, oh, we have to be stuck with each other at this point. But I didn't know if this wispy silver, thing was the fact that they could talk to each other, similar to how Taryn and Violet can talk to each other, and same with Gale and Xaden, or was it a different thing between the two of them? Like in my head, I started questioning things, so I cannot wait to go back and reread. Um, but I was like, is this just Sigale and Taryn perfectly finding a way to get Xaden and Violet together? Because Taryn had said back at the point he knew exactly who Violet was. And,
Mm-hmm.
and we have Indarna who purposely waited to hatch for her. The book's more about the dragons than it is about the people. We just know the people's thing because that's just, it's from the human POV. But I was like, what else is there? And maybe I'm just pulling at strings here of a way for them to be tied together more than just the fact their dragons are together. But
Yeah, and Mira even makes a comment and says, well, that's why bonded dragons normally pick riders from the same year
yeah,
because the complications of when Xaden leaves, things like that.
yeah,
Uh, so I think you're onto something there
yeah. I
with
don't know.
them purposely picking these two people, knowing
Right.
that they were going to work together to overcome something.
Yeah.
Um, I'm with you as well on this made me miss it so much. And it's like taking everything in me not to just like reread it right now, but I want it to be fresh in my mind for January. And I could read it now and then reread it again in a couple months,
I
but I
know.
have so many other things on my list that I need to get to. Um, but I'm so excited to reread
I can't wait.
and just like the characters. And I loved it. I will say though, I kept forgetting it was a POV and not a bonus chapter, which is a very big distinction. And so I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, like we definitely knew this information. Like, what? This wasn't included in the book. I definitely read this. And then I had to keep being like, wait, it's just his side of it. We heard
Yep.
it from Violet before.
I thought
So
the same exact
I was
thing.
getting confused on that. I was like, wait, she definitely knows that they are bonded and that they can mind talk. Like this isn't new information. So I had to keep reminding myself of that. And then I literally just put Liam sad face because it's so nice to see him again and so heartbreaking at the same time.
I know. I know. Oh my god. I wanted him to be around so much more, so I was really appreciative that we got more time with him.
Yeah, I actually saw Rebecca was doing like an interview or something, and she said something like, "If you never leave Fourth Wing, you'll always have Liam," or like if you only go to this chapter, you still have Liam, or something. Like she made a comment about it, how everyone's sad that
Rebecca
he died.
Yarros ripping my heart apart is basically
Yeah,
the vibe.
yeah, and then I caught on the wispy silver thread thing that you had pointed out, but then the other thing I just noted was I loved getting to see Xaden and Sigale talking to each other through their bond,
Yeah.
her just making fun of him for liking Violet and always thinking about her. Like she literally says, like, "What's Violet doing? What is she safe? What is she gonna be able to get on her dragon?" Just like the whole like, there's a bunch of different sentences. Her just poking fun at him, and I love it because she knows. She's like, "You're in love with her. Like we all know.
Yeah.
Just like admit it."
Everyone can see. I mean, it is
Yeah,
so obvious. Oh man, no, their banter's perfect. I want more
it
of
was so
that.
funny. Yeah, it was really funny. I thought it was a good chapter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nice to get his take. We don't really get anything new
Yeah.
in there except for the points you made. Like maybe the dragons did pick those, but I
Yeah.
feel like without that, you'll find that out through the books anyways. But it's just
Yeah.
nice for people who are love the world, love the characters, just to get some new content on them
I
while
know.
we
It
wait.
just made me more excited for the fact that the third book's coming out in January. It basically
Mm-hmm.
was that little pep in my step to get more hyped for it again. I mean, as if I really needed that because it was just, I'm always so excited for it. But it was nice getting a little bit of extra of bringing you back into the world
Yeah.
and kind of discussing it afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Well, then Rebecca also gave us more little crumbs. What was it? Other day? I think maybe it's
Yeah.
been out for like 2 days now at this point.
Yeah.
Um, she drops the blurb for Onyx Storm, which thank God. And like, what is the roadmap for all the other spoilers we're gonna get or teases we're gonna get?
Oh,
Um, so The blurb she gives us is after nearly 18 months at Bathskaya's War College, Violet Sorrengail knows there's no more time for lessons, no more time for uncertainty, because the battle has truly begun. And with enemies closing in from outside their walls and within their ranks, it's impossible to know who to trust. Now Violet must journey beyond the failing Orician wards to seek allies from unfamiliar lands to stand with Navarre. The trip will test every bit of her wit, luck, and strength, but she will do anything to save what she loves: her dragons, her family, her home, and him. Even if it means keeping a secret so big it could destroy everything. They need an army, they need power, they need magic, and they need the one thing Violet can find: the truth. But a storm is coming, and not everyone can survive its wrath. Done.
I am not well at all. I read this at least 10 times and I'm still not okay. I don't know what to
It
expect.
it is so good.
Oh,
I did see your note saying that you listened to Michael and asking if I did not listen to the video.
Michaela.
I just read the caption. I haven't listened to the video yet.
I
I need
listened
to.
to it so much more than I have read it because it's just, oh my God, it brings you into it. And I honestly think I'm going to do the audiobook. It's just so
Is he
good.
the voice actor for Fourth Wing and for Iron Flame?
I want to say yes, but then I question if not. I should look this up and actually have
I
real facts on this if
I
that's the
also
truth.
heard that if the best way to read it, or like if you're going to listen to the book, is to
Yeah.
do the graphic novel, because you get background music and you get different characters like voices instead of
Oh
just,
boy.
some. I heard it's a better experience. I
Okay.
don't know though if I think there's like a delay on that. So I don't know if the graphic novel or the graphic audio version will be available when this drops, or if it will just be the straight audiobook. That
Yeah.
I'm not sure on, but I do know people really rave about the Fourth Wing one.
I'm tempted also because I've seen a lot of people doing this on TikTok is you listen while you're reading.
Oh, I need to do that. Yeah.
I've never done it, but I feel like that will heighten my experience
Hmm.
of getting to see it and hear it. I don't know. It's going to be so
Yeah.
much better.
For Fourth Wing and for Iron Flame, I listened to just like a Spotify playlist, and it was all instrumental, but it was like Game of Thrones music,
Ooh.
um, Train Your Dragon, like all that,
Yeah.
to the point where they all ended up on my Spotify Wrapped, which didn't love that, but that was such an experience. I will be doing that or listening to the book for Onyx Storm because it just elevated it.
Yeah, I will say that not that I intended to do this and quickly jumping back to Throne of Glass, but Patrick was playing a video game and there was a couple songs in the video game that now I can't stop thinking of when I read Throne of Glass, and I love it because it actually fits the vibe really well, and I don't know
Yeah.
how, but music for me does that. It just brings another layer to something and adds, more intensity and also
Hmm.
the quiet points. It kind of brings that into it a bit. So, yeah, I think I might do the same because
Yeah, I really enjoyed it for Fourth Wing and Iron
yeah,
Flame.
I
It was a good experience.
yeah,
But on the blurb,
yeah,
first of all, like just dropping that on what, like a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it was, at like
yeah.
10 a.m. Who was prepared for that? The biggest thing that jumped out to me that I am pumped about is the map is expanding.
I'm so excited.
We are going to new places. We are meeting new people. We are finding out more about the political landscape in this world. And I'm so excited to see what is going on, like who these people are, what have they been doing,
Yeah,
all that. I am hoping that also that we find out more about Andarna's, like her dragon clan.
yeah.
She's the last one. Like, so are we going to where they all were last? Like, if that makes any sense,
Interesting.
like where maybe that died off, where she's originally. I don't know.
Maybe. I love the
And
fact that each book has had different areas. I really like that because it slowly builds the world for us
mhm,
without being too much all at once.
yeah,
So,
it's giving ACOTAR like how
yeah,
every book builds. I love
yeah,
it. I'm so glad we're going to go to new places, because that was interesting in Iron Flame. I know people hated on it, but it was cool seeing the different types. Like they fly on wyverns, the different
yeah.
animals, the different fighting, and what's going on with the characters there and the connections. I liked that.
Yeah,
I do think more people will be revealed as Venom,
I think so.
more bigwig people, because about to be Venom at the end. There has to be others. He's not the only one.
And the fact that Jack Barlow also was, but they, I can't stand him. Even saying his name took a lot of effort there, just gonna say. um, but there's just, I think that there's people hiding. And obviously within the sentence, Larry says, within their ranks and all of that. And there has to be other surprises that we don't even know of. And maybe there's more to, maybe they're not even just Venom. Maybe there's something else entirely that they
Mm-hmm.
could be that we don't find out about until we reach these lands. And
Yeah. I think it's big people in big, powerful positions that could
yeah,
be, which will be crazy. And then the line about truth, which I'm now trying to find. Oh, and they need one thing, Violet can find the truth. So my initial like off the jump thoughts that day was I think it has to do with her dad's research and
yeah,
learning more about them, and then maybe also the Venom aspect. Why are these people all turning Venom? How can we help them? Because obviously she's going to want to try and save Xaden from this.
yeah,
But after kind of seeing other people's thoughts, reading it a little bit more, I do also think this could be pointing to her being a truth sayer as her second signet, like being able to tell when
yeah,
people are lying and all that stuff.
yeah. Actually, I did not think of that. I thought it was more going to be the truth of why both Taryn and Indarna picked her, of what was why is she so important. And maybe it does go back to her signet in that fact that she has abilities to be able to help them out way more in this war than
Mhm.
any other would. So I'm just really curious about, did those all tie together, or is it just kind of multiple truths that we'll find at different points of the series? Because I mean, this is only three out of
Yeah,
one five.
five.
So we still have a lot more. This is kind of the top if you think about it. And then we have to come down and do all the craziness and
Yeah,
everything.
on Fantasy Fangirls, they were actually saying like Rebecca writes it in a W structure each
Yeah.
book, and then the series, which I didn't know that, so that would make sense. Like book one was the top, then we went down on Iron Flame, which people
Yeah,
did think it was slower pace. It was a building book.
it
We're going
was.
to be at the top now. We have to go down. So I feel like yeah, it's going to be action packed, big bombshells,
Yeah.
big change. Because at the like Iron Flame really was. We're world building. We're learning more about the political landscape. We're learning more about there's some sketchiness going on.
Yeah.
There's things being redacted and covered up. And then at the end is when it's like, oh, and Venom.
Yeah. I also have to go to the sentence above the finding the truth. They need magic.
Oh, I can't wait.
Can we just talk about this? So, signets are not our magic that's channeled through your
They're
dragon,
dragon.
but they have basic magic, what they call, I'm guessing with writing with pens and shit like that, like things that I
Mhm.
guess we take for granted that they just don't have. But what kind of magic are they looking for?
I'm hoping wherever they go, there's witches.
Ooh, witches would be fun.
It'd
Witches
just be
would
a
be
fun
fun.
little touch.
Can you imagine if they just started? Oh,
And Rebecca is a huge fan of Sarah J. Maas. She talks about her a lot.
yeah.
And it would be like a callback to Throne of Glass.
I was thinking about the witches kind of coming in.
Imagine it's Manon.
Oh my God, right?
She got the rights.
I would
I
die.
think it'd be cool. I don't think it will actually be witches, but
Yeah.
one could dream. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll like unlock something that releases more abilities. I don't know. I know for sure
Right.
she said we will find out Violet's second signet in this book. And I think she said Jack Barlow. He will be a character, but he's not going to be like a front facing main character.
Thank
Thank God.
God. Thank God.
But he will
I
pop up.
I'm not shocked. I feel like we're gonna see him or we're gonna hear about him, or maybe his history. You know, anything will probably get him in every single book until they finally just completely get rid of him, and then there you
Yeah.
go.
I hope we find out like what is going on with Mira because she just disappears at the end of Iron Flame. She's in the war, like in the big fight scene, and then she's just gone. We don't
Yeah.
really know if she's alive or not, but I also don't know whose side she's really fighting for.
I know we had talked about this, I think, when we were reading it during book club and had said, "Oh, we're really curious on is she okay or is she, against this area? Where is she going?" Yeah, I'm just really curious. I have no idea. And the part of the who to trust and everything within their ranks, outside their walls, also on the point of Venom potentially being some big key players, I wonder who's going to betray,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know who to look at. I don't know. You know what I mean? At least right now, I haven't read in a while. So if I read it again, I could probably give you a little more. But just thinking about that immediately, I go, they really started to build a very close knit group. Obviously, the people we get in Iron Flame, I wouldn't necessarily call within the close knit. They're newer people. They haven't been there since day one. But I don't know. Did someone really play them this whole time?
I would love to think it's Jane because I hate him, but I feel like Rebecca's really trying to give him this redemption arc for the readers to like him.
She has said that
Which
she is a
means
Dane sympathizer. So for me, and I think people have joked about this of, oh, it's supposed to be an enemies to lovers. How did Xaden and Violet become enemies to lovers that fast? They hated each other for a couple chapters and then it was fine. Her and Dane hate each other. So I can't. I know people will hate that if that's actually the path that we go. That all of a sudden, Xaden really turns against them, or they have to, sacrifice him to the gods to help out. Like, there's so many things that could go. But I also question: is it really categorized as an enemies to lovers, or is that just people assuming? I can't remember if Rebecca has claimed that is or not.
I'm not sure, but coming like she is a romance writer, it
Yeah,
would make sense.
I know.
And I think we have the same TikTok page because I did see a TikTok about that as well, saying it's enemies to lovers and why did they become enemies to lovers in the first book of a 5 book series.
Right.
And I just want that person to just let us live in peace. Like, could we have one thing?
The only thing I keep
Okay.
hoping for is that they're enemies to lovers, then they're enemies, and then they're fine together. Do you know what I mean? Like go on
Or I
that
just
rocky
wanted her to be
road.
like, hey, this is a 5 book series. You're going to go on an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Let's get the enemies to lovers out of the way first.
Right. There's gonna be more
So, you know
obstacles they
what?
have to face.
Yeah, they have more obstacles. So, we'll get that little trope out of the way. Here they're lovers
Yeah.
now, and we're good till the end. But
Yeah.
I didn't honestly think about it until I saw that freaking TikTok, and now I'm nervous. Is
It's stuck in
something
my
going to
mind.
happen?
Yep.
And you make a great point about Dane. They hate each other right now. But at the
Yep.
beginning, you kind of think they might have a thing
Yeah.
because they had been childhood friends. And then he
Mhm.
starts to be just a shitty person. She
Mhm.
hates him.
Mhm.
And what if Xaden dies? The venom takes over his body. They have to sacrifice him, like you said. He's now out of the way. And that was a big, like, gotcha. The real love story is these two.
Yep. I thought that immediately. I go, I don't like thinking this, but I went down a rabbit hole with the enemies to lovers.
Your dogs agree with you.
They do. They're so mad. They're like,
They're
we don't
pissed. They're
want
like,
Xaden
fuck this.
dead.
I hate Dane.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I will be so sad if that's what happens. I don't even know. Like people how they felt reading Iron Flame. If I have to read a book where Xaden is dead and she's now falling for Dane in his passing or whatever, or even worse, Xaden's still alive but they've broken up and she's with Dane. If that's how the series ends with her with Dane, I can't. Even though I think the series is going to end with all of them dead.
So I was thinking that too, especially because is it the Book of Brennan, or am I just making that up of a name?
It's
Am I
running because I saw it at Barnes and Noble yesterday or
okay?
the other day. Oh, there's
Oh, hey,
Kobe's back.
Kobe. Okay, because I was trying to think about and I'm totally blanking on names, and it's the scribe who is mute. Is her name Yesenia?
Jacinia.
Jasenia. Okay. I knew I was saying it wrong in my head, but I question if she is the only living person that was able to bring their story to life for decades to come, is my thing.
Yeah, because at the beginning, I think it's the beginning of Iron Flame. It
Yeah.
says like this is the story of, and it implies that this is being told by a third party person.
Yeah.
And this is being told, like, this story isn't taking place in present day, which makes
Yeah.
it seem like none of these people are alive to tell the story. And it makes me nervous. Also, like,
Uh,
I just feel like she's trying to give Dane like the Snape arc from Harry Potter, but that
yeah.
one worked because you
Mm.
hated him until he dies. Like, you hate him, and it's only afterwards you find out and you're like, "Oh wow." But I don't like this like actively trying to make me like him while he's alive.
No, the only thing I can think of is if we get more Xaden POVs and the fact that he's now Venom, I question if, and the Venom doesn't really have to play in here, but it kind of can because he might not have as much time as he expected. And, he's the worst thing for Violet. And I wonder if we get potential Xaden POVs that him and Dane are talking more, kind of how similar to Snape and Dumbledore in the back scenes. Like, I think I stayed up way too
Yeah, I
late
mean,
last
it would
night
be
going
like
dive.
it would be interesting, but like I just like,
I don't want it.
can Dane leave?
Yeah.
Oh, this just like ruined it for me. Like thinking that she's gonna end with Dane.
But who knows? I mean, it also could be where I know that there's still the question about her hair being, a little
Hmm.
more gray and like what happened with her dad. And that truth we haven't found out. And I don't know if we will or if we'll get snippets and then we find out more in the fourth book. And, kind of like you said, to
We don't know
Iron
where
Flame.
Xaden's mom is.
Right. Yeah, where is she? Where'd she run off to?
We don't know.
I don't know. There's a whole group
We're
that maybe
definitely
we
gonna
find
run
out
into
more.
her.
Maybe that's where she is, this new world. There's magic there. Maybe Xaden can live within the Venom because he has this, magical being within him.
This is crazy. Like we are only on the halfway point of the series, and I feel like so much has already happened. Like I feel like she could like wrap it up in this book if she really wanted to, but the fact that there's going to be two more books,
I don't know.
this is about to be crazy.
I feel like I'm going down so many different theories of what's going to happen. And if you talk to anyone who reads these books, they are probably just as crazy as we are
Oh
with
yeah.
the theories. It's ridiculous, but I cannot wait for the anything else we're going to get from Onyx Storm. It's going to be
Yeah,
intense. It's going to be intense.
I'm thinking we'll probably get 2 to 3 more teasers before, and they'll probably be like on a monthly basis. So this one came out so probably get one like end of October, November timeframe, December, maybe one right before it comes out because obviously she's trying to drive pre-orders as well.
Right.
Um, and if people are talking about it, if people haven't read the books yet, it's a good way to like get them to read the first two.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, yeah, probably like 3 more, which I cannot wait.
And
They'll probably be
I
like 2 sentences each, and we'll be like going nuts over them.
well, because didn't she do it where she actually released a little bit of the book for Iron Flame right before the release? There was a
A couple
chapter, or not a
pages or
chapter.
something, yeah,
Yeah. If she does
or a couple
that,
paragraphs.
I'm gonna dissect everything. It's gonna be a full deep dive.
Yeah. Also, where it says like there's no more time for lessons, so obviously she's not going back to school.
Yeah.
Is the school closed for everyone, or just those that are choosing to go fight in this war?
This is
And
bringing
if
me
that's the
Harry
case,
Potter
who's going to
book
stay
7.
behind? Yeah, you have to think though. If we're like comparing this to Harry Potter, right now we're hitting like books 3 and 4.
I was gonna say we're hitting the close to the middle point. Yeah.
And just think about how much more was to come after 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully agree. And I do question too of is there the done with lessons? Like you said, I think they're away from the college. I think that's we've done enough there. I think there's enough damage and it's fine. But there's definitely going to be things that she has to learn and train along the way.
Oh
We
yeah.
every area I think they go, they learn something new. I just want to know what new skill or something we're going to find for the next one.
Hmm.
Because the
Yeah.
magic part, the power, well, those can go hand in hand. Those could go
Yeah.
totally different.
And I'm so curious to see like who of the group is going to continue on with them. What new people are they going to pick up on along the way? And we're in for more deaths.
At least two or
Liam,
three.
yeah,
At
like there's
least.
definitely going to be some in this one. not everyone is going to just literally, and not everyone can survive its wrath, but like just in the context of it, you know.
And what storm? Is it her and Xaden having sex? Because, that creates a storm.
He's blacking everything out. There's a storm happening. I don't know what is going
I know that's
on.
not the storm, but I feel like it's going to get so
I
much
like that
worse.
one better. It's better. I Oh my god, I'm just going literally back to the Dane thing though. Ew. Imagine, like, I can't, Meg. I'll never get this out of my brain ever again. Like, just imagine. No, I can't. I can't. I'm just picturing like take Xaden out of the throne scene and put Dane in there.
Oh, Shadow Daddy only works for that scene, okay? There is no way that Dane can
But
do
I'm saying,
anything as close to that as.
but if like they are the enemies to lovers, like we will have to get lover scenes, and I want to literally slice my own fingers off before I read
But
those.
the only. I'm going down a rabbit hole. Bear with me here. And I know we hate Dane. His signet, plus if Violet has Truthsayer, could be powerful together.
You are building them up to be this power couple, and we want
I
them to just
know!
be power friends, be friends.
They could be a power. Yeah, they could just be a power friend group. They don't have to be
Or what if
together.
enemies to lover? And lover in the sense of you love your friend.
Right. Not
There is
actual
love there.
relationship. Yeah.
There is love there, but it's not passionate love. Just something to noodle on, Rebecca. That person though, like that TikTok,
Oh,
I
that
tried
pissed me
to
off.
forget it. It
I'm
pissed me
sorry.
off. I was like, why would you
I
even talk this into existence? Maybe she wasn't even thinking that, and you just put that on her radar.
I know, right? I really noodle on this, Rebecca. That's amazing.
Like, what if Xaden is the Cho Chen,
No, it can't. He
and now
can't be.
Dane is Jenny,
Ugh.
the one in the background all along.
But
I
Ginny was
can't.
so powerful and so good. Dane is not good. He's gonna have to do something in this book catastrophic to make
Or
every single person like him or tolerate him.
Xaden is the Victor Crumb, powerful, strong.
Mm.
Everyone loves him, popular. Dane is
Ron.
Ron Weasley.
Ron Weasley.
I can't.
I don't even think I could tolerate that.
I, I really want to say like that theory. It will not happen though because she's built them up to have such a strong relationship, and it's the complicated thing of the dragons.
I was going to say the only way it is working is if one of the pairs disappears. And the only way that's working is if Xaden goes. Because what do we do? Lose Violet and then all of a sudden it's just Xaden's POV the entire time? I don't see Rebecca getting rid of Violet at all, especially because the fact that Indarna waited this long to hatch just for her.
Yeah, and I think the dragons will die if any of them die.
Right. I question too if Violet has the power to bring back the dragons to higher strength. Because if you think about it, not as many are, bonding. There's so much, and everyone talks about it being the fourth wing series, but it truly is the Empyrean, which is about the dragons. What
I
don't we
know.
know
Yeah.
about them? I feel like Fantasy Fangirls went on this, and I fully support them on that. Like, we don't know things about the
Oh, they have
dragons.
their whole own thing going on.
So
I
do
think
we go
there's
to a
like
different world that they're involved more?
oh, I think the dragons have like their own inner workings going on, like on the side. Like they're all just mind talking to each other, and they're all coming up with their own plans.
Right. Because Taryn says that they come up with their own, basically they have their own counsel on what to do, and they
Yeah,
don't care about the humans. They know something, and we aren't finding
yeah,
that out. I wonder if that's also the truth of we
and
find out
maybe
with
the
the
final,
dragons.
yeah, and maybe the final book, the big blowout, is the humans versus the dragons,
Can you imagine?
and the
They'd
dragons
be done.
succeed.
They would. And that would be how they would all die. It'd be a powerful way to all die that way too.
I'm so
Oh
excited,
my god.
and I can't wait. When I do my reread, I'm really gonna try and pay attention to things that I think could be indicating her second signet because Rebecca says if you pay attention enough in Iron Flame, you could figure it out.
Pay attention enough. I can't freaking pay attention to a book after I've read it 5, 6 times. Harry Potter's the only one I can actually get you through, but it's because I've read it at least 10. I don't think I'm gonna be able to read it that much to figure it out, but it probably
Yeah.
will come after I read the third and say, "Oh wow, Meg, it was
Duh,
obvious.
how did I miss
Wow."
that?
Blonde
I
moment,
can't
Meg.
wait. I cannot wait. So
Ugh,
yeah, long episode.
but so much about this. Whenever we have more, good luck. We're gonna be doomed.
Yeah. So we still need to get your Kingdom of Ash
Yeah.
recap. Have you started it?
I haven't because I wanted to take a break 'cause it's a big book.
Yeah, it's
And
huge.
the last two, the tandem read, I know we had talked about at a previous pod, but I just want to read it and have it done so that I can really know what's going on because there's so many unknowns. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping in the next few we can have some answers, and I can give
Yeah.
a recap of the
So do
series.
the recap, and then as we get more Onyx Storm nuggets, we'll recap that at the end.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me either.
I'm way
It'll be
too
good.
hyped. If you are still with us after the fact that we went through the thriller books, but also the fact that we went through the Onyx Storm blurb, which is phenomenal if you're a fan, thank you for staying with us for this long. Our next episode, we are keeping in with the spooky vibes. We are going to be talking about Keep It in the Family by John Mars and What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. So for that and for more things Booktroverts, see updates on our book club episodes, all that stuff. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Booktroverts And I guess we'll see you next time. And keep chatting with us if we enjoy it.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.